dozens of calls in the last 8 to 10 weeks over Skype and Zoom and all sorts of different platforms. And I'm really just Fight or Flight. I'm sure you've all heard by Walter Cannon talking about our reptilian brain. You know, do we run away or do we stand and fight, depending on the situation? Now, reptilian brain reacts in one or two ways, and those are the two ways. I've added a third there with freeze, so fight, flight, or freeze and do nothing. System in terms of red, yellow, and orange. Freeze and fail, so do nothing different during the lockdown, and eventually your business will go down. And that applies to any business, by the way, from small to very large multinationals. Fumble and falter. In other words, just kind of carry on doing what you were doing, whether it works or not. And of course, the environment, the circumstances have changed. So if you carry on doing what you were doing, there is a chance you will also fail. It just may take a little bit longer. And of course, green, fight and flourish. So fight for your business, fight for your clients and customers, and flourish. So do the sort of things that will make your business successful long term, and certainly through the lockdown. And let's have a look at those bits and pieces right now. So 10 ideas to fight and flourish. Number one, stay in touch. Just stay in touch. It's that easy. Stay in touch with your customers on phone calls, yes, but preferably on some kind of, you know, Zoom call, Skype call, Google Hangouts, etc. I know it's only two-dimensional, but at least they can see you as well as hear you rather than just hear you. Develop and nurture all relationships. You know, and this could be your customers, and it could be your clients and prospects, but of course it could be your family and friends and your colleagues and co-workers internally. So develop and nurture those relationships, especially the ones that may not be coping or struggling with this, may not be coping so well or struggling with this situation. In terms of sales and prospecting, and I've heard this again from small to very large organizations, they're not entirely sure how to approach sales. They don't want to be tone deaf in the situation that we're in. In other words, they don't want to be too bullish or come across as, you know, not understanding the situation well. So they kind of retract a little bit. So one of the best ways I consider to carry on with not necessarily sales, but prospecting and keeping in touch is to show and tell. So in other words, show people what you're doing. If there's a product demonstration, use it on video, do it on video. If there's a service you can provide, create a video for it and give that content, give that information to your prospects and clients who right now probably need it more than ever. So be sensitive. You know, have empathy of their situation, about their situation, and don't be tone deaf. Number four, cash analysis. For sure, it's one of the trickiest times in terms of cash flow for a lot of businesses. Of course, there are businesses in medical supplies, masks and so on doing extremely well. The logistics industry and the supply chain, drivers, etc., those kind of industries and supermarkets are doing extremely well. There are others which are not doing so well, you know, which have been closed down: cafes, restaurants, hairdressers, nail salons, etc. So cash analysis is key. You know, profit is one thing, but certainly cash is king, and it's the lifeline, it's the lifeblood, if you like, of a business. So government incentives, there are dozens out there. Just have a look at .gov.uk websites in the UK, and I'm sure there are others in your country. Bank incentives with some very low cost loans right now that don't need to be repaid for at least 12 months. So there are lots of stuff for you to investigate there if you haven't already done so, of course. Eliminate all unnecessary expenses. There are bits and pieces that we've all subscribed to online in terms of software, whether it's only $10 a month or $50 a month. We've certainly discovered things that we haven't used for months and even a year, and we've just cut back on those and slashed them entirely. And of course, this applies in your personal life too. If you're, I know lots of people who've cancelled their gym membership, for example, because there's just no point. You know, 2 or 3 months of paying, well, whatever the cost is for the gym membership is completely money down the drain. So cut all those expenses out. Build your client list. So in other words, stay in touch with your customers, stay in touch with your prospects. Advertising costs, as I understand it, particularly on the social media platforms and even the traditional media platforms, for example, radio, not necessarily just TV, are down by 50 to 80%. They've slashed their costs because very few people are advertising now, and they've retrenched and retracted their ad spend. So it's probably a good opportunity for you to explore that if you haven't done already. And it will create massive loyalty for your clients, just so they know that you're around, that you're staying in touch, and that you're supporting them during this lockdown period. So create massive value for them, whatever that looks like for you in your industry. We're doing lives at the end of the month on LinkedIn, and we're doing a Zoom live as well. So it's something that we haven't done before. So we'll come on to number 10 in a moment, but it's a case of finding out what you can do in terms of fight and flourish. So we've had to pivot the business, jumping on to number 10, from classroom-based training, coaching, and mentoring to now doing it online. And it's going extremely well. And that's the only reason, because we've had to stop and think about, how long is this lockdown going to be? And even if it's only short term, what can we do short term now in order to have the tools and the situation under control to get through the lockdown, and of course beyond, even when there's sort of a phased release of the lockdown or an easing of the lockdown over time. Give away your free best products. Number 9, give your content away. Of course, if you have content and products that support customers right now, either do it at a very low cost or free, because I genuinely believe in reciprocity. If you're helping your customers now and supporting them, who's going to be remembered in the future? Is it going to be the ones that suddenly come out of the woodwork in 3 months' time? Or is it going to be the ones that have handheld them through the situation when they needed it most? And of course, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, these are all channels for you to explore in terms of making sure your message is getting out there and as quickly as you can. So for me, attention hacks lately have been to do less. Don't put the client in a difficult situation where they have to sit and read. I mean, I read, I love reading. I've got books everywhere and I do enjoy reading. However, from my prospects and clients and colleagues' perspective, video, is easier to consume and apparently about 4+ times stickier. What do I mean by that? It means somebody will sit and watch a 12-minute video, but they won't necessarily read the transcription of that video for 12 minutes on a document or a report. So videos tend to be stickier. On any mobile device is perfect. Now, it could be your mobile phone, it could be your phone, it could be your laptop, it doesn't matter. I've seen lots of leaders, CEOs of large multinationals, they've had their phone obviously propped up against something, books or a box, giving a message to their customers and to their colleagues and clients internally, just to make sure that they're staying in touch and staying in constant communication with updates, with the strategy, with the milestones, etc., as they go through the lockdown. Full disclosure, clarity and transparency. Be authentic. People will see through things if you're being less than, if you're being less than truthful. So be transparent and give full disclosure and have some fun. Last point there, have some fun online. There are so many different things you can find on Google now and YouTube in terms of virtual business fun and games on a Friday afternoon, Friday night, finish work an hour early and have some fun with your colleagues. And I've meant anticipation and action. In other words, anticipate where your business could be and would be, or where you'd like it to be in the future, and then take action towards that. Anticipation's great, but if you take no action, nothing's going to change. ACT, one of my favorites in terms of an acronym: appropriate, consistent, and tenacious. Take appropriate action, be consistent with action, and be tenacious in finishing that. So for example, I genuinely believe where focus goes, energy flows. So if you're focused on getting that goal done, in my case 2 videos per week, then that's what's going to happen. And I genuinely believe complexity is the enemy of execution. If something's too complicated or complex, it's rare that A, it'll be understood, and B, that it'll get done. So keep things simple. And repetition is the mother of mastery. So if you do things more than once or twice, it's going to be okay. But if you do it 40 or 50 times, by the 50th time, as long as you've had the right training and tuition up front, there's a chance that this will go extremely well. So I really hope that's helped. It's my top 10 tips. It's really a reflection, a bit of introspection, but really a reflection of what I've been listening to and hearing from all my Zoom calls in the last 8 or 10 weeks with colleagues from all around the world. And I hope it's helped.